Our next speaker is Mr. Rajkumar Ayyella, CIO, RPG Group, KC International Limited. Mr. Rajkumar carries over 20 years of technology leadership and senior management exposure in large conglomerates working on projects of national significance. He possesses great board presence, having led programs of large significance in popular technology-backed infrastructure projects. As a CIO, he carries solid exposure of technology aspects in industries of software, mining, energy, construction, and ports. As a P&L owner and business head, he has also handled many transformation initiatives, mergers and acquisitions, greenfield initiatives, suppliers and vendor management, resourcing, while remaining hands-on subject matter expert in various IT areas, including SAP for a long time. So please put your hands together, everyone, for Mr. Rajkumar. I know we are a small bunch of people, but we can definitely clap for him.
It's difficult to hold people at this hour. I think, let me keep simple. I have only 4 to 5 slides. I think if at all you have any questions you wanted to raise, because I'll be talking more from a customer standpoint. So customer in the sense I'm the consumer, not the actually producer, or I would say rather building people. So I think the future of the cloud is actually changing in the sense like more it is towards moving towards SaaS technologies rather than the cloud. So if you see an estimation that it will touch 702.19 in the year 2028 from the present, or I would say rather last year, it was about 121 kind of a thing. So the scenario is changing because even companies like us, we have actually taken steps that we would focus more in terms of bringing value to the organization rather than spending time in terms of maintaining data centers or trying to work towards that. So that's the way it is happening. I think there's nothing great about this, but I think most of the people are aware of what are the benefits in terms of moving towards cloud. So we normally, this is, I would not say myth, but if you don't manage the cloud cost properly, it will actually get you, it is going to burn your pocket. So we should also understand profiling of the products, profiling of the applications, which one we should use, where and all has to be really thought through, and a cloud strategy has to be formed before we actually make any steps moving towards the cloud. Because if it is just a lift and shift, it is not going to work properly for you guys. So that's one thought through which I wanted to put it across in terms of cost, because there's a lot of debate with most of the people saying that is it moving to cloud is going to save the cost. As long as you don't do your thought through properly and you don't build your own application portfolio strategy properly, it will have a lot of issues on that. But definitely I agree on the speed, because if you want to provision something within your own data center, it takes ages, because your internal approval process in terms of putting things in a proper shape will take ages for you to do that. And speed definitely, I mean, a lot of organizations have different kind of needs. So you cannot provision everything within the data center internally. Whereas if you go with the service providers, they provide you everything. So for example, in our case, we are an engineering company. So if you look at our requirements, we need different kind of CPUs, we need different types of GPUs, we need compatibility issues. Many things have to be thought in totality before we actually need to look at provisioning something. And again, the utilization of it. I mean, you provision something and how much you will be able to utilize internally is something which is also something which we need to thought through. Data security is one of the pain area. I mean, if you see within us, like we worked on strategies like zero trust. We worked on strategies to basically to ensure that our data centers are secure and all, but when you actually start building these things and if you're managing all your data centers, a lot of energy goes down into that. And what we have done in this is we built in a strategy. Every company has their own strategies, but today we cannot say that it is only one provider which will give you all of the requirements for you. So the requirements keep changing. So you end up having multiple cloud environments, you end up having data centers internally, You will also have, so this is actually spread, the resources are being spread across, it is across the countries, across, depending on the way you operate and which businesses you are into as such. So for that, if you have to define data security as one of the key thing which we have been thought through, and we built in something called zero trust environments and all. It span across multiple geographies, multiple data centers, endpoints, all these things has to be thought through. But what is important for us to understand at this point of time is every customer, I mean, when you create a data security strategy, we should come up with a strategy that which are your core activities, which are your non-core activities. So when you look at core activities within us, so we will be focusing more in terms of bringing value to our internal customers. In that way, so a lot of service providers who are with whom I've actually interacted at this point of time, they are the ones who should handle the non-core activities. For us, it is non-core because we will not be able to keep on working on it on a day-to-day basis. We would be rather interested to bring in value. So data security is one area I would definitely say that by going on cloud strategy will benefit most of the organizations as such. Flexibility, as I told you, whichever GPUs, whichever CPUs, whichever, whatever are the combination, if you really want, you work on a lot of POCs, because today digitalization has become an prominent aspect for us. And when you actually wanted to deploy any kind of a software, provisioning itself is a big issue. So, and you cannot actually provision everything, as hardware cannot be provisioned within the organization. And for us, it has become handy, and we had a lot of flexibility. We could work on multiple POCs, multiple requirements have been addressed through this. So that's where we got a lot of flexibility. And DR and BCP is something, there's no thoughts on this, because today we have multiple cloud environments where we have DCs running on one of the public clouds, and DR has been built on some other cloud. We also have a backup DR which is built internally. We created offline backups. So a lot of things have been done, because we cannot afford to have only one single partner who can help us out. But cloud has come handy for all of us, so we can focus more towards value creation, and DR or BCPs are all been given to the service providers as such. Again, the efficiency, yes, definitely we could easily work on a lot of POCs. We could, a lot of discussions happened with the business, and a lot of efficiency has increased. We worked on multiple projects, like projects in terms of world-class engineering. We worked on projects like lighthouse certifications. All these things was only possible because we had cloud partners who can take this load from us. I think the cloud strategies, if you typically see, and we need to look at three things: why, what, and how. I mean, let's look at why. Because as a strategy, application architecture, security, accessibility, and cost. These are all something which we have been thinking through what should be our strategy. So each and every area, I mean, when you look at, when we look at infrastructure modernization, when you look at security, when you look at digitalization, when you look at, expandability of the applications, architecture, all these things are something which have been pain for all of us. And if this all comes handy when you actually look at the cloud strategy as such. So as I told you, there is no single strategy which will fit in for any of the organizations. So few of them, like for example, some of the workloads, like we talk about SAP, they go into private cloud. What are the ones which should go into public cloud? Which are the ones which should go as a hybrid solutions? So which one will be single, multi-cloud environments? These all will be depending on your own, portfolio which you create within the organization, and your futuristic strategy in terms of which areas you want to bring in terms of digital areas. All these things has to be thought through and deployed. It's not necessarily that it should be only all the eggs in one basket. No, it depends upon who is strong in which areas. Like I can quote an example of Microsoft products and all, where you will say it has to exist in every organization. But if you are looking at who is strong in which area, I mean, Google could be strong in certain areas, somebody might be strong in some other areas. There are some products where you don't have an option, like Microsoft, solutions, and so we have to think through that. What should be our strategy? How do you manage multi environments, and whether it is only private which will suit us? No. I mean, we have to have private, we need to have public, we need to have hybrid. So all of them will work to us. One of the fundamental problems which I have seen is, the migration. I mean, now today a lot of partners are coming up with the tools which they have. They're able to migrate easily, but earlier it used to be that you get stuck with one partner and you don't have an option, and you used to get stuck over there for ages, and the data and all will I mean, it is some of the apprehensions which used to be there. But today, I think, but yes, we need to really think through about the migration approach. We also need to look at, I mean, even in our case, we had data centers. I've been talking to most of the veterans, offline. We had lift and shift kind of a scenarios where we moved everything from our data centers to co-locations, and few of them from co-locations to hubs wherein we have to build our own data centers. But it is purely depends upon the strategy within the organization. Yes, end of the day, I mean, one of the things which we need to look at is the optimization. Are we unnecessarily provisioning things internally which will cost us? So one is you have to wear a CFO hat and see at how effectively you are utilizing it. Whether you are over provisioning, whether you are under provisioning something, and whether you really need certain things. So this has to be thought through, and it is important that we actually optimize all the resources within the organization. So when I say cloud, I mean, I've been talking to a lot of my peers in CIO community where they say that our cloud cost is exorbitantly going high. I mean, which applications, why are you hosting it over there? Is it really required? So you always need to categorize the applications in terms of which should go into which cloud and what of them. I mean, when you say it should be private, or whether it is public, whether it is hybrid, or which one should go back to your on-prem solutions, all these kind of things has to be done, or else it will be difficult for us to manage it. Definitely, as I told you, there's IT apps modernization, because you need a lot of POCs to be done. We will only be able to commercialize, or I would say rather go to production environments if they go through all the internal tests and we feel that this is going to add value to all of us. So for that, you need to do a lot of experiments. And we have been, I mean, I'm happy to say that we have used a lot of cloud environments, whether it is Azure or whether it is, all major of them where we have the, basically we have the accounts with them, and we have experimented a lot of microservices. We also have used it for DevOps. We have used for low-code, no-code platforms. But this is all possible because of the cloud, which is able to give us this kind of flexibility these days. And the second thing is, yes, we had a lot of, I mean, if you have provisioned certain things, if you are not able to utilize it and all, don't feel that we want to effectively use this hardware, because we have come up with some scenarios wherein when we do the internal VAPTs, we understand what kind of hardwares we are using, what kind of operating systems we are using, and a lot of guys have this apprehension that we should just still continue with this kind of hardwares, and but a caution of thought that today the hackers or people have, they can easily exploit your environments as such. So wherever you need to retire something, please retire and move on to the places, because it is better that you think through these strategies properly, remove which is vulnerable in nature, fix all the corners, and then start working on things which are important for us in terms of business. So I think one is definitely we spoke in length about speed and value, because the cloud gives you a flexibility to basically provision something, and whatever you want to provision, you want to work on it, you will be able to do it. If you fail on that, you can actually scrap it off without much headache on of us. Then we can move on to the next areas, and again you can do experimenting on this. So this is all possible because of the speed, we don't lose out on value because you're working on a very small scale, and then you can experiment and you can always move on in case if it doesn't work. Second is strategy and innovation. Yes, definitely. I mean, I quoted you a lot of experiments which we could do internally is all because we wanted to achieve a lot of things in terms of cost optimization, flexibility. A lot of KPIs have been designed, and we wanted to experiment on all these things. So as a strategy, we could say which is workable, which is not workable, how far we can stretch on certain areas and all. So we could effectively not only implement our strategy, but we are today working on a lot of innovation aspects, and there's an innovation festival we do with all the group companies. This is all possible, and we are able to concretely see the outcomes where it can prove something worthwhile to us, and what we can actually, which fails, we don't need to talk about it because it will give you a lessons learned for all of us. But this is all possible, and we could do it in a very cost-effective manner with low capex, and new experiments were all possible. IT resilience is one of the ability to provide the high SLAs and minimize disruptions, because you don't really need to think into it, because earlier it is like as CIOs we used to spend a lot of time that we do not want our environment to go down, or all these things. Now we have a clear-cut SLAs being defined. We can work with the partners. We can always bridge the gap between the multi-environments. We should have that holistic view, build ecosystem so that this is all possible, and there are people to work with you who can actually bring in all this for us. So we talked about the hybrid cloud architecture. I think we need to, as I was talking about, we could build in all the critical loads where it should be, whether it should be on the private cloud, which one should go into public cloud. This analysis and will help us in terms of not only reducing the cost, not only reducing the non-critical environments. We can always move to areas where it could be in your own environment, or it could be a private, it could be any of the public cloud, or it could be anything for that matter. So this is all possible through these architectures as such. So one of the good things which we have worked on is we have built in something called a big data platform, and this is scalable with, we had, structured data, unstructured data, streaming data, which is getting collated, and we are working on a lot of, predictive kind of an outcomes. For that, we need to collate the data first, and for that, we have built in a big data platform. We had a huge volumes of data, and this has to be cleaned properly. So I think this is all possible, and I'm only talking about the possibilities which could happen because of this environments in place. So best of both, as I told you, retain legacy applications. So we today, during pandemic, there were a lot of switch which we have moved to entirely into cloud. We worked, we balanced it out. We had multi-cloud environments. We know which one should go where and all. This is all the flexibilities which we had right now. The other one is some of the companies, group companies, have regulatory and compliance related issues. Though in totality we have some guidelines coming from the government that this has to be hosted within India. I mean, because we operate out of 110 countries, and there are some companies within us like life sciences and all, where there are more regulations to say that it has to be hosted within in your environment and all. So we have to be cognizant about all these kind of factors before we make an architecture review of this. This is what I have in my mind. I think I just want to keep it as crisp as possible, so that I know you guys are all tired, and I think it's good that we'll just close with this. Swapnali? Done? Thank you guys. Thank you for sharing my experiences.
Thank you, sir.